Hey, this is John Carlos, and I am here with a look at the Target Haulathon 2024 exclusive NECA Ultimate Jigsaw figure from Saw. Several years ago, NECA made, I think, about 4 different Jigsaw figures around when Saw 3 came out. 2 that had John Kramer heads, and 2 that had like the pigface head. They all had sculpted robes, and it was that old era of NECA when like the legs had no articulation. It was just like arm and head articulation. 3 of them had black robes. 1 had a red robe. This repurposes the John Kramer head and the other John Kramer head and the pigface head. So as an ultimate, you do get all 3. It has a brand new body, an articulated body underneath a soft goods robe for the first time. Now, one thing that's cool about this is there's Velcro, so you can actually open the robe and, see the body underneath. Now, one thing I'm having a problem with this figure is it's got these kind of legs where they don't fully straighten out. They're constantly, to a certain degree, bent. The problem with that is the ankles only go so far before they're stopped, either by the sculpt of the edge of the pants or just the limitations and stiffness of the articulation. So the figure always wants to lean back, and I can't counter that at the ankles because they won't let me lean them any more forward. So I constantly have to lean them forward at the waist just to get him to stand, which normally would be annoying, but it does allow me to get the figure in more of an action pose. I didn't do that at first. I wanted to show you guys how much he actually wants to lean back in the most natural pose I can get him with his knees forward and his ankles forward. He still wants to lean back. Now, there's nothing fancy about the body underneath the robe. It's just a basic pants and shirt, but it's nice to have articulation if you're into that sort of thing. The head sculpt is repurposed from the previous figure, but it does have newer paint apps. There is something a little cartoony about it, but also the features of John Kramer are there in the lips, the mouth, the eyebrows, the eye paint. Kind of the pink around the eyes all look really, really good. I think the hair flow looks nice. It is worth noting while we're focusing on the head area that we do have a hood back here, and that hood does have a wire going not just around the opening, but there is a wire going through the back here, much like the more recent Ghostface figures that NECA has made. So I appreciate that there is a bendy wire in there that helps you shape it if you want to shape it. We have some other accessories here, like this other portrait of John Kramer, the bald head version. Very, same head, just different hair. So my same compliments and notes about that. And then we have the pig face head. Some nice details there within the sculpt. I like the way the hair flows down, and some nice paint on it. I dig this. We also get the tricycle, which has little pegs for the feet that you can connect the new Billy the Puppet to. And the reason I say new, it's the same puppet figure, as far as I know, but they've, for the first time, added glitter to the shoes, which I think is a nice little detail. The head itself, really well painted. I like the spiral cheeks and the details for the eye paint, the lips. Overall, for such a small figure, this looks really, really good. We also get some repurposed accessories like the blade that goes around the wrist. We get some of these hands, these little fisty hands. And we also get this right open grip palm hand, which is identical to this open right grip palm hand, so I'm a little confused by that. We also have what I think is a first accessory, is the reverse bear trap. Some nice details in this design. I can't tell if this is the same one from the Toonie Terrors that's just had more gack added to it. I think it's a separate one, not just a modded version of the Toonie Terrors one. The other new accessory we get is this little tape recorder. Nice that they included this. It's a nice touch. You can see the little cassette tape in there. Paint on this is pretty clean. Plugging Billy the Puppet onto the tricycle is super easy, and I gotta say, it looks really good. I like that all 3 wheels are articulated. I mean, it very easily could have just been like a static tricycle, but the fact that the wheels move is a nice touch. Here's the figure with the bald head on. I misspoke earlier. The bald head does not have the exact same face as the head with hair. This one's got a soul patch. The one with hair does not. The tape recorder fits really nicely into that open palm hand, and I think that's the same open palm hand from the really old figure, so the fact that they sculpted this tape recorder to fit in perfectly to a pre-existing hand is pretty cool. The thing I like about this robe is that it's got the little wire going down the front, so if you want to like kind of flare it open, the wire does hold open so you can see the shirt underneath the coat. If you're curious, the bear trap does fit onto John Kramer's head, even though, you know, within the story this doesn't make any sense. I still think it's fun that it's scaled to a standard NECA head, so you could put this on all sorts of different NECA figures' heads and have a lot of fun with that. I do just want to point out that even though some of the details on this are maybe slightly exaggerated and cartoony by contemporary NECA standards, we're talking like 20 some odd years ago, this was a pretty good head sculpt, and I think the details within the wrinkles on his cheeks, the wrinkles on his brow, this is still a pretty good head sculpt. Definitely good back in its day, and I still think it holds up. And here's the figure with the pig face mask and the blade installed onto the right hand. Another thing I like about this robe is that with the wiring going through it, you can make it look all nice and closed and clean, but if you want to pose it like with a little dramatic flair, you can. Now, one nitpick I have, besides the stiff ankle joints and the limitation with the knees, is that my right elbow joint is crazy stiff. Like, I've got to warm it up. So getting this figure's arm into a more action pose right now is kind of a pain in the butt. Let's take a closer look at the way the mask fits onto the robe. You can see that the collar, there's room for the collar to be flipped up on the left, but it does get bent down with the hair on the right, but the hair is pretty short in the back, so you have this one kind of wisp trailing over the shoulder into the back and over the hood, which I think looks really, really good. On the whole, like on the shelf, this figure looks great. This is how I'm going to be displaying this figure with this version. Because let me just say this up front, I am not a Saw expert. I like the films, but I'm not like a hardcore nerd about it. So correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but John Kramer, over the course of the series, wears the black robe a lot. The red robe, I mostly remember being used in the abduction scenes in Saw 1. I think it pops up a few times later in the series, but when it comes to John Kramer, I think of him with his head exposed in the black robe, not the red robe. Red robe, to me, for my favorite Saw movie, I think of pigface, red robe, Saw abductions. I say that because you absolutely 1000% gotta know that NECA's gonna be doing another one of these. They have to be. It's a given. It's how they operate. And I guarantee you the next Ultimate Jigsaw figure has to be the black robe. So I had to ask myself, do I want to wait for the inevitable second Jigsaw figure in the black robe, or do I want this one? And when I looked in my heart, I realized I definitely want Pigface on display more than John Kramer. And when I think of Pigface, in my heart, I think of the red robe. So yeah, years ago, I skipped on the Saw figure, the Jigsaw figure, because I just didn't really need it. But as time has gone by, literally years and years and years have gone by, my affection for the Saw franchise has grown and grown, and I realized I want some kind of Saw figure in my collection. I want a little Billy the Puppet on my shelf. And I regretted not getting the old Cult Classics figure. So this coming out really does scratch an itch for me. And I think it's time. It's been so long, and now that Saw 10 is back and Saw 11 is coming out, I'm glad NECA is dipping into this pool, and it made something that I can add to my collection. This is an exclusive through Target Haulathon, and what makes this figure special is that other Haulathon figures you can get through Target.com, not just in stores. This one in the US you can only get in stores. You can't get it on Target.com. I think you can get it on Haulathon.com if you're an international purchaser, but you're only getting the sucker in Target, in stores. So if you like the red robe, that's the way to get it. And I think if you're going to be recycling hands and recycling the Billy puppet and recycling 3 heads, and you added 2 new accessories, a repaint on 1 accessory, and gave a new body underneath, even though the body's a little stiff, I don't think this is like a rip-off figure. I really do think, even with the recycled heads, the new body and the new robe, and I don't even like soft goods, but this is a good soft good figure. NECA is, to me, making the best soft good figures in 6 and 7 inch scale. I really do think, as an Ultimate, this works. I like it a lot. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know in the comments what you think of this figure, and if you want to be up to date with all my latest reviews, be sure to click subscribe.